Hi, everybody, and welcome to the Limitless Wombman Podcast. My name's Gina. I'm a natural holistic mystic. This podcast is all about letting your light shine. We want to bridge the gap between women and men to foster more understanding and compassion between the sexes. So, I have this amazing guest on today. Her name is Isik, and she is an intuition coach and breathwork facilitator. She's also the author of an amazing book called 140 Things I Wish I Knew When I Was 14. Oh my gosh, so many things I wish I knew too. Ishik has many years of personal and professional development, spiritual development. She has worked with hundreds of clients and is the creator of Naked Breathwork, a space to reclaim your power. It's wonderful. I've been to Ishik's breathwork sessions and they are amazing. I was quite surprised at the release I got from it. Ishik is based in Istanbul and travels all around the world to facilitate these amazing workshops. Thank you for being on my podcast, Ishik. Welcome. I am so pleased and honored to have you here. And I know you're such a busy woman. So to have a bit of your time is a bit of a gem for me. So, yeah, as I mentioned earlier, this podcast is really about bridging the gap between women and men, but really about how we let our light shine. And you have been someone who I have observed for years, just letting that light shine and shine and shine, like you're just like a shooting star going off into the universe, just spreading your joy and your wonderful creations. So I just wanted to talk to you a little bit about uh, your journey. If you just want to give a little brief introduction of yourself and your journey to where you've come to today and how your shine has come about.
Yeah, would love to. Thank you for having me. Thank you for inviting me. And hi, everyone. So great to be here. So, okay, about my journey. So I'm Turkish. I was born and raised in Istanbul, Turkey. And growing up, I knew I had a strong connection with my intuition. I could sense things, but couldn't put words into it. People would appear differently than how they would feeling, and I would kind of like notice how they're feeling, and then the outside expression would be different. So it would be quite confusing for me, actually. And I kind of grew up in a very kind of logical environment. The mind was much more valued. So I went into architecture. I studied architecture. That's my background. That's how I came into UK 12 years ago, 12, 13 years ago. And whilst doing that, I realized, okay, this is not entirely what I want to do. Like, what I want to do is more around helping people, supporting people, helping them to be who they truly are in the world. And throughout studying, and even before studying and after studying, I always, as you mentioned a little bit, I've gone to so many trainings, workshops, received so many sessions. So I was always um, intrigued and curious about finding out more of me, exploring, adventuring, like all these things, and learning and growing. So after finishing my studies, I did a few different jobs. I did graphic design. I looked after kids. I was a nanny for a little bit. I worked at a school part-time. And at the same time, I went through a coaching qualification. So I went to become qualified to then set up my business. And even whilst doing that, I realized, well, they're not showing me anything I don't know. That I kind of knew all of this, but it gave me more permission to just be like, yeah, do this. Like, go and do this in the world. It was a good confirmation. So around 2017, I set up my business of coaching and breath work. Been also doing breath work for maybe 13 years now, for a long time, and started doing goddess circles, these women workshops, which maybe you came to actually. We did in those circles, it was all about connecting with your body, with your feminine power, your intuition. So we did dance, meditation, and breath work. And I kept doing those. And at the same time, I started to do breathwork journeys with my partner at the time. And they also grew and grew. And that's what you come to as well. And they were once a month. There were 5 people, 10 people, 15, and then 20, and then grew into like 30. And kept doing them for 2 years. Uh, um, carried on with one-to-one sessions and steps and going.
Fantastic. Fantastic. That's lovely. I remember those. They were. I didn't really know what to experience when I went to your first breathwork
Mm,
session, the first one I attended, I should say, and it was just tremendous. I didn't expect to
mm,
have that release. I didn't know what it was going to be about, and I do realize over the years I've learned so much that breath is so important, and we don't
yeah.
even we mainly don't breathe all the time very well. So it was good to have a session where we were breathing, but it was about more than
Mm,
breathing. It was about something just changed within you, and the release that you got at the end of it was just amazing. The naked
yeah.
ones I haven't been uh, brave enough to attend yet, but I can imagine those are even bigger releases. So I just
Mm,
wanted to ask you a couple of things, really. Um, so you mentioned that you started the breathwork journey with your partner at the time, and I just wondered how, because that must be really interesting working with someone as well as being in a relationship with them. What do you think some of the misconceptions are about women and men in terms of um, just being together and connecting? Like what lessons did you arrive at, if you want to share? Like, is there anything there that you thought, oh, I didn't really expect that, or actually men can really tap into their own intuitive powers as well as women? Because I always hear that women are more powerful in spiritual, and I do believe that we have a separate kind of different energy around how we connect our spirituality. So it's really interesting that you did this with a male. I mean,
mm,
aside from him being your partner at the time, just doing it with a guy, how was that experience for you?
mm. Do you mean the relationship or more so holding the breathwork journey together?
A bit of both, whatever you feel
Uh-huh.
comfortable to share, actually.
Yeah. I find every relationship has a different energy to it. Obviously, there's two people coming together. They have their own magic. I have my own magic. The other person have their own magic, and together it's kind of like alchemy. It's almost like one plus one becomes three. It's like a container where like magic can happen, and I find that um with him, and I can say his name, Aaron. He's a really good friend now. We stayed friends after we separated. Been friends for like 7 years. And we both had a like creative energy between us. We wanted to like, create as well. And he was incredibly supportive. Like has always been supporting me and my business ever since it started. I still receive business sessions from him. So it's almost like you're there. Imagine two people coming together and they're together for the relationship or the sharing and that like union, that unison. And that union can sometimes create um creative projects as well, like creation. So I think in that, it was amazing that that came out of that. And then afterwards, I kind of took it on, and then I carried on doing them on my own as well. Um, so yeah, I think that's amazing when that can happen. Not with every relationship, obviously, but when it
Mm,
happens, I think it's like super magic when two people come together. And apart from the coming together, there's an extra creation that's unfolding.
mm.
Yeah.
And did you find that doing your breathwork workshops,
Mhm.
actually, do you get as many men? Do you get more men or more females? Or how do the men take to it? Do they take to it slightly
Mm.
differently, or do you think that there is it's just the same?
It really varied across years, across the last 7 years. In the beginning, maybe it was more women, then it became more men. Men are actually very interested in breath work. Like it really, with everyone, like men and women, it helps people to get out of the mind and come back into the body. So, and breath work is kind of like a structured way of doing it. You're
Mm,
breathing, there's a structure to it, and then you're moving your body, you're making sounds, and it allows you to go into this altered state of consciousness where you get to, like you said, release, let go, connect with yourself. And doing that in a group setting, it's so healing. Like there's a humanity aspect of it. We're different from each other, but we're also quite the same. We go through similar joys, similar pains. I think we all want to be seen and loved. That's really the core of like what we want and need. I really feel every need comes from that. Um, So doing the breathwork journeys, they were called Freedom Through Breath at the time. And I would say pretty balanced. They were pretty balanced, more so men. And then when I created Naked Breathwork, which was 2021, I did a somatic sex education training back then. Um, and whilst I was doing the training, I was looking at, okay, this is amazing. I love this training. How can I bring in this into my existing work? And I thought, well, let me do breathwork naked, see what happens. Is this my intuition telling me just do it naked? Um, and it was great. It was pretty amazing. So often people ask like why naked? And the reason for the nudity is it's there's a specific expansion and liberation that happens when we're naked. You can go deeper, you're more vulnerable. There's less layers. And in the beginning of the naked breathwork, we have a conscious undressing ritual. We remove an item of clothing with something we want to let go. So there's an intentional letting go. We do it 3 rounds, then we start the breath work. So already when you start the breath work, you've already gone in, you've already released, shedded, and you're doing that with others. And with that, I find it's also pretty mixed. And I also start to do women's naked breath work. Their energy feels a lot more quite witchy, quite priestessy, and quite like womby and like amazing. And the mixed one is actually very healing between genders, actually, between men and women. Because both those people, like they come in pretty scared. Everyone comes in nervous. Like men are nervous, women are nervous. And it's about creating that safe space and to be like, there's no enemy here and it's safe. And it's also pretty rare that we find ourselves in situations where we're naked and intimacy is not happening. So almost like being in a sauna naked, no one's touching you, sexually. There's none of that. So it's actually not a sexual event. It's a very inwards journey that you happen to share with a group of people in the same room. And very healing, especially for women, for them to be naked in a room with men
Mm.
and their boundaries are respected and they're there and they feel safe, they feel vulnerable, they get to be in their softness. Same as men, they're naked and they don't have to perform. They're just naked, just being with themselves. No need to, please or perform anyone. So it's very healing for both sides. Yeah.
Sounds so powerful. And I really, as you're talking, I can feel that energy, and I'm not even in the
Mm.
class. Because I think that being naked is a really freeing thing, but it's a
Mm.
very private thing, and it's very hard to share that, as you said, without there being some sort of sexual, especially, I mean, not on your own, but I'm saying with men, and not not being having that boundary of feeling like it's actually a safe space. No one's going to be looking at you in a certain way or doing whatever. So
Yeah.
that, I think that's beautiful. That's oh, one
Mm.
of my I was going to go on to talking to you about breaking barriers, but you've literally just answered that. And what an amazing barrier to break. And I think that in terms of healing the bridge between women and men, I think that open vulnerability is such a beautiful thing to have. I recently
Yeah.
came across in my women's circle, we were having a conversation about these groups called incels, which is like groups of
Mm.
men who are involuntarily celibate, but they have come from a very I hate to say positive or negative, but they've come from quite a dark energy, in the sense of the reason that they give for being involuntarily celibate is because they're no good women, and they think all women are, it's a really kind of
Mm.
sad, really, energy, I think. But in my research about it for this group, I then found out that the original person who coined that term was a woman, and she had become involuntary celibate not because she hated men, but because she felt she needed a break from
Mm.
um, sexual intimacy with guys, and she wanted to work on herself
Mm.
to heal. So it came from this really beautiful uh, idea to turning into
Mm.
this really strange kind of anti-women group, and men, and some of the
Mm.
men are quite vicious and violent. There's a lot of negative stuff around it. So listening to what you're saying about this naked breathwork, I reckon some of those
Yeah.
guys could do attending your session.
Mm.
They might actually change their outlook on life and see that, that we are actually
Mm.
beautiful. Men and women are beautiful together. It's not us against them. It's just
Yeah,
us. It's just us, isn't it?
exactly.
That we
Exactly.
complement each other in different ways. You just have to find the right connection, I guess.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
so I can see your light. I see your light shining all the time. But I would love for you to tell me of what letting your light shine means to you, or was there a moment in your life where you just thought, I'm gonna I'm gonna just let my light shine? Was there something that happened in your life, or was it just a gradual process, or how do you let your light shine?
Mm. There's like a song on that, isn't it? I'm gonna let my light shine.
Yeah.
I'm just hearing that song now. Um, I think it's just being yourself, being who you are in the world.
Mm,
And that includes all of it, to be honest, includes the lightness
mm,
and the darkness. Because often people might think, oh, darkness is bad. But
mm,
darkness is also needed. Like integrated darkness is just so powerful. It's the oomph, the boundary, the groundedness that gives you, because you're always in the light. It can be this, oh, like this ungrounded, airy-fairy thing. But if it's also integrated with darkness, it's just solid and very balanced. Like the balance between the feminine and masculine, the yin and the yang, lightness and darkness. Um, but like specifically to your question about the light, I would say expressing your gifts, sharing who you are with the world and being yourself, you know? Um, there was definitely a time, maybe before like 10 years ago or so. I'm a naturally shy person, actually. I'm naturally shy. I'm naturally quite introvert. And I had to like work on communicating to people, like having these interactions and like I've literally like trained myself to do that when I was a teenager. I was like, how do I talk to people? Like this is a bit like hassle, you know? Anyway, I figured that out, learned that. So I had a time where I was very inwards and shy, so almost like not sharing, like very inward, but in a coming from a fearful place. But when that comes from a love, more expansion, like courageous place, I think it requires courage to also share ourselves with the world because it's a very vulnerable thing. Like imagine you're being yourself and you're open. It's a vulnerable place, but not doing that almost has worse effects. So it's much better to actually be open. Often people might, I'm going to close my heart to feel safe, to protect myself, which is very understandable, but actually the cost of that is so much more than having your heart open and then getting heartbroken. Because if your heart is open and then you're getting heartbroken, then you heal faster and you move faster. And because you're open, life just provides more and more. But if you close, it's almost like a lack and holding and resentment and all that. So yeah, I think just coming from the heart also, like sharing your light is like coming from the heart, whatever. Doesn't have to be like your work business, like following purpose. It can be just you simply like helping a stranger or like someone drops something, you give it back, you give someone a compliment, you smile. Like sharing love, I would say, but not doing it because you want to receive it or not doing it because you think you're going to be a good person doing it just because you want it. So don't do it if you don't want to do it, So it's, yeah, I'd say being authentic, being yourself, following your truth. You and I did this amazing training on intuition, on alchemy, natural success. And I think that like definitely teaches that. And that's the framework of the work I use. We learned it from our teachers, Ryan Pinnick and William Whitecloud. They're amazing. Um, and it's basically how do you listen to your intuition and make aligned choices that are with your truth, with your soul and your true self. Um, that's definitely, yeah, shining your light.
Thank you. When you were talking, that just reminded me of that training and how we that was the dark, that was the shadow, wasn't it? We worked on our shadow
Mm.
and it was the dark. But
Hmm.
when I talk about letting your light shine, you're so right. People think it's all about the light. It's all got to be this beautiful thing, but actually, the light comes from the dark. That's how I've
Mm.
experienced it. Like if we hadn't gone through to do that shadow work with William and Ryan, we were in that
Yeah.
darkest of places, and from that so much light has come. So much light
Mm.
has come. And I totally get what you're saying about, it's so easy for people to keep their hearts closed for fear of being hurt or being embarrassed or
Mm.
being shamed or whatever it is, whatever reasons that they have. But when you keep yourself closed and you don't give yourself an opportunity to open, you can't receive. You don't know what you can receive. If you keep it closed, you'll never know. But when you
Yeah.
open, even if you get your heart broken, it's okay because at least you got that
Mm.
experience. As they say, better to have loved and lost than never to have loved at all. And I really, really
Yeah.
get that. As I've gotten older, I totally understand that, or understand it, as I prefer to say. Um,
Mm.
because you just don't know what's there. And even from heartbreak or pain or anything like that, so much growth comes from there, doesn't
Mm.
it? That's where all your lessons
Yeah.
are. When everything's plain sailing, you don't usually pay as much as attention to what's going on. You don't go, oh well, I'm really happy now. Why is that? You know, like some of us do. If we're deeply reflective, we can reflect on that. But a lot of us will be like, it's only when we're in pain that we start asking the questions why, what's
Mm.
going on with me, and stuff like that. So yeah,
Yeah.
definitely.
Yeah.
What role do you think? I'm just thinking about this now as you're talking about it, because with the understanding about darkness and the light and being free and being open, what what do you think would foster more compassion or empathy? How would that play? How would that play a role in bridging the gap between men and women, between women and men? What do you
Mm.
think would
Can you
be deeper?
can you just repeat the question again?
So when you think about compassion and empathy,
Mm.
what role do you think that plays with women and men? Because one of the things that I've noticed in social media, and I do believe that this is mainly in social media. I don't think most men and women are like this. I don't hold to that, which is why I'm doing this podcast. But there's a lot of stuff in the media at the moment where it's men complaining about women, women complaining about men, and how when you've got the likes of Andrew Tate, who says certain things about how women should be, how men should be. You've got women who have these really negative stereotypes about men, how all men. You hear people go, all men do this, all women do that, and they have this
Mm.
complete blanket view. I did a radio show last year where there was a lot of men coming on, and we asked them to find some good things about women, and the only people that made the most noise were the ones who were always complaining, and they literally couldn't find like one or two things good that they could say about women and their past relationships with women. What do you think would foster more compassion and empathy? How
Mm.
can we move that? How can we shift that?
Yeah. Well, I think it starts with yourself. If you can have compassion and empathy for different parts in you, because we're very complex. We're not just one way or the other. Excuse me. We have different parts in us that have, different needs. So if you're at peace with yourself, if you're at peace and in harmony and genuinely accept yourself as you are, with all the highs and lows, the flaws and imperfections, all of it, then someone who does that will naturally have that empathy and have that compassion for others as well. Like the
Mm,
most empathetic, compassionate people I met, they're at peace with themselves, actually. Like they're at peace with themselves, with others, with the world. So it comes with the self. And then after that, yeah, men and women are different. We're different. And every man and woman are different. So it's, we have our inner yin and yang going on. So let's say, as an example, if we take like a woman more in her feminine and then a masculine man more in their masculine, that's going to be different. So if a more feminine woman is getting upset at a masculine man for not like hearing her or listening to her, there needs to be some bridging. There needs to be some bridge around that the yang communicate in a yang language so that they can hear it. And you're not making a self yang just for the communication purposes. When you did that, I felt this. Would it be possible to do this next time? If you just make a clear request like that, instead of going, "Oh, you never do this," then they might just hear nagging, and then no proactive outcome can come out of it. So if it's just clear and direct communication like that, that helps. Um, from the feminine woman's perspective, and from the masculine man's perspective, to understand and have empathy for the woman, more feminine woman, it's almost like they're not linear. It's a total chaos of there's no linear structure to the conversation, there's no linear way to the emotional processing. So almost accepting that and not getting frustrated around like the storm of the chaos will pass. If someone is present with that, it will pass. So just bringing in presence to that. They can also have their own boundary. Like the capacity I have for this conversation is maybe half an hour. Can we take a break in half an hour? Because that's like holding the presence. And the other person can be like, yeah, of course we can. And then they can also regulate and do that instead of maybe just spilling everything. So yeah, it's like understanding the other person and offering what would be like a match to that would be great.
Yeah, I love that. I love that. And I think that's I over the last several years, I'm really like trying to pioneer this radical, self-responsibility. And and what you're saying really resonates with me, because I think when we can have some compassion for ourselves and realize that sometimes the people that we meet are just mirrors of something within ourselves that we need to heal or to face. So sometimes, I saw this meme the other day, and it said, whenever you hear someone criticizing, they're just confessing. Because you're just confessing something about yourself and you don't realize it. And when I realized, I remember when years ago, when that first sunk in, I was like, oh, I started to think about all the times I was sort of putting down X's and saying this, that, and the other about them. And I was like, hold on. If that's a mirror of me, I'm literally just confessing stuff that I need to work on. And it was quite embarrassing for myself. But then I kind of had to sort of go, crap.
Oh, shit.
And because of the work we've done, I was able to kind of go, well, okay, if that is a reflection of me, then these things I'm saying about that person, what is that in me that I need to heal? What is that I think about them that is also within me? Do you get what I mean? And it's a bit of a daunting thing to look at. And I think that a lot of us are not really prepared to do that yet, because we don't go, when we're at school, we're not taught how to be, we're taught lessons, maths, English, this, and we're not taught about feeling ourselves and what we have going on for ourselves. So I really love what you're saying about reflecting on what your partner is, as when you said about the chaos, and that's such a feminine energy, isn't it? Chaos is feminine. It's that flow. It's all over the place, fires, everything. And that's what we're like. So if you can just accept that, and a lot of people will be like, oh, you're on your period, which shuts down space to kind of go, so what's going on for you? And then instead of the woman going, well, yeah, that might be part of it, but we end up in this clash, don't we? So I love that what you're saying. I love that what you're saying. I was just going to take a moment to sit with that for a minute, because balancing feminine and masculine energy, we always associate masculine energy with the man and feminine energy with the woman. And often forget that we have that within all of us, men and women, and sometimes we're just out of balance. So if we can start to, like, as you say, have a bit more compassion and empathy for our partner who may be more in their feminine or masculine, and realize that it's just the balance, like you said, yin and yang, it's just about balancing that out and having that dialogue with each other, being able to have that dialogue. And you are like speaking your truth, like, is like your superpower. Like you helped me to really get into speaking my truth as well. I had started to do that, but you do it without, doesn't matter what it is. I remember you saying to me, doesn't matter what it is, speak your truth, and it's true. If you're coming from your heart, speaking your truth cannot fail you, really. Even if it feels like it's a messy mess and it's horrible, you will, after, at some point, get some reflection and learning from it that will help, and it won't be so bad. It will just feel bad when you're about to do it. So I thank you for that. I've got one last thing I want to talk to you about, and then I want you to go into your book. I really want you to get into your book and tell me all about that, because I'm quite excited to hear about it. What is your most important lesson that you think life has taught you?
Oh, there's so many.
Or you can pick a few. You don't have to pick
Yeah,
one.
yeah.
I'm gonna make it too difficult.
No, I'll feel into it. Well, I think it relates to what you just said about speaking truth. It's something about if I know something, I feel it, and that feels aligned for me, that feels like my truth, I have to follow it, to be honest. Like I have to follow it because if I don't, it almost goes downwards from there. But then if I do follow it, things become so much more expansive and effortless, and it feels true, it feels right. So I'd say to like follow my heart always, like to follow my truth. Even if it might be upsetting to others, in the long run, it serves everyone, as you know. It's because it's truth. It's like an aligned, expansive truth that applies to you. And if it applies to you, it's gonna help everyone else around as well. Yeah.
Yeah,
That's probably yeah.
I love that. And that just made me think about over the years that when I never used to speak my truth, when I used to hide behind what I was worried that, I'd be frightened of the outcome without even knowing what the outcome would be. So I'd end up
Mm,
not speaking my truth. I'd end up not just being withheld so much. And then I had not the people that were around me were not aligned to me because they weren't seeing who I really
yeah.
was. So I was ending up around people that would hurt me in some way, or
Mm,
maybe not, or maybe things just wouldn't work out. And it would be like, oh,
yeah.
this is happening to me again. But without me realizing that actually it's because I'm the one who's making it happen over and over again because I'm not being
Mm,
in my truth and not being aligned. So then what's happened over the years is sometimes some people fall away. But I don't feel bad about that. Before I used to be like, yeah, get rid of you. Da, da, da. I don't feel any anger or animosity to people that fall away from my life now. I'm just like, well, there was a space and time for that person, and there was a lesson I had to learn, and now they're gone.
mm,
And then there's space for new people. And then you just start to, like, now I tend to just, I find it really interesting that when I go out
mm,
and I meet people, now I meet people and they're always really quite cool. I mean, not that we become busy mates, like, and start hanging out together all the time, but I just end up with a really nice sort of just chatting to
mm,
somebody who's like really cool, and I'm like learning something, and I just have a really lovely time. Like, I rarely have a bad time. I don't actually have a bad time if I go out. I tend to have a good time because I think you make it, I
yeah.
make it what it is because of your energy, right? So, I mean, we've
Mm,
like
mm,
friendships and stuff we talk, and we've had talks where we've like, it's been a bit but then we've kind of come through it
mm,
because the love that and the intention that was there moved you
yeah.
through. And I think that's what being speaking your truth really does for you. And if you have people around you who are meant to be there, they'll be there and
Mm,
they'll accept your truth, and you'll go through it. And that's for life as well. That's like with projects. You can go into stuff and you can think, oh, this is going to be great. You follow your heart, you follow your truth. It doesn't work, it fails. You're like, oops. But then you think, oh well, that was a good experience though. What can I learn from it? And it doesn't. There's no failures. Well, things. I think you have to fail to grow.
mm,
Like, what we consider failing, but are they failures? Because I read this book called Failing Forward, and you fell
mm,
forward when you learn from it. So yeah, that's good.
definitely.
Wonderful,
Yeah.
wonderful. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
I want to hear about your book, please. Come on, let's get into this juicy bit.
Yeah, but before we do that, I just want to say something about the truth speaking thing.
Yeah.
And one of the lessons I literally got from last year was not everyone wants that also. Not everyone will meet me in that vulnerability, in that openness, in that
Mm,
truth, not my
mm,
values truth. Um, and they don't owe me the truth, to be honest. So that was a great lesson for me to be like, then who do I actually let into my like close friends,
mm,
Not to let everyone in, but those that don't do that as well. Like those who are open and vulnerable enough to like have those maybe difficult conversations. And you and I had a few as well. And here we are, still friends
yeah,
and, growing. So I really value that, but not everyone values that, and that's okay. So that's a
mm.
good also discernment in who to let into our heart and not as well.
I thank you for
Yeah.
that because that's a very, very, very good, for to my mind, is a very good lesson in empathy. It's like
Mm,
not expecting everyone to be like you.
yeah.
You
Yeah.
can't. Some people just don't want to know the truth, and that's okay. And some people don't want to hear it,
Yeah.
and they don't want to tell it, and they don't want you to
Yeah.
tell them. but you speak, you own your own truth, and that's the big thing. And then everything else is whatever it is. And don't make, there's this I've noticed over the years, and I think when I was first going on this journey and learning and coming to my own little awakening, I did exactly this and became a bit of a spiritual kind of arrogant person. Of like, oh, they're not, do you remember when I don't know if you remember when we used to do the readings and stuff with really, and if someone was a bit new, you'd be like, oh, no, I need someone who's more, advanced. So,
I've practiced
you'd get a reading from someone who was brand new and you'd be like, they're not quite at my level, so I don't think I did it. I wasn't conscious I was doing it, but when I reflect, I can see that I did do it. Yeah. Oh, you're frozen a bit. I hope you're still there.
Consciously.
I'm just going to pause for a minute. There we go. We caught back. Yeah, I don't think I did it intentionally at the time, but when I reflect back, I can see where I did that. Do you get what I mean? It's quite crazy when I think about it. Actually, so you can get a reading from anybody, and if you're connected to source and your ancestors and whoever's around, they will give you a message no matter where it is, whether it's TV, a movie, a magazine, some stranger on the street. Anyone can give you something that is of value, and to devalue it because you think you've had a bit more meditation classes is a bit kind of funny. But I love that. I still, as you said, I own all of that, and I love all of that about myself. I don't feel any way about all the bumps and scrapes I've had and some of the things I did. I can laugh at them because I'm just like, well, I'm just a human, a person in this human vessel, just trying to work it out and go on my journey as is everybody else. So I can now laugh at those things and not take myself too seriously. I don't think we've ever taken ourselves too seriously. I'm just thinking about us when we did the dance, the performance, and we just couldn't stop laughing. We tried so hard to rehearse, and all we did was laugh and laugh and laugh. So I think I don't think we ever have a conversation when we don't have a little giggle, like even like now, a little giggle. So I love that.
And I love that about you. There's this joy and like innocent, like playful quality to you, and I really appreciate that. The dance, like you're talking about, it was we did a talent show in that community. It was a burlesque show, and it was like 2 minutes or something, like 3 minutes. And we were like, everyone was like clapping and so engaged, and it was just so funny. I was like so nervous, but we had a great time. We just laughed like so much.
So good. Yeah. And we went for the rehearsal with that woman, the burlesque woman. We practiced our little scene, and I had a lesson. Gloves to pull off my gloves, and I did it with my daughter in the audience. Oh my gosh, that was
it's great.
So cringe, but so funny. And I think that people do say that about me. I think that I've always kept that youthful joyness. I still remember being a child. Although as I get older, I am more, more adult. You do more things, but I can't help having that fun side. I just can't. That's just who I am. I just can't not be that silly girl sometimes. And I think we all have a silly girl in us, and I think we should all let it free at times. It's not always about being serious and stuff. And I don't think I could be 100% serious all the time anyway. I can always find the funny in everything. And sometimes it's inappropriate, but it makes me laugh.
I'll be there to laugh with you. And there's something about using lightness and humor, especially in the work we do. It could be around coaching or healing, because if healing is just healing, it becomes like so serious and heavy. And I think it's important to bring some play into it, some lightness into it. Obviously not laugh when someone's genuinely processing and crying, but there's a place for it. I try to do that a little bit with Naked Breathwork and the sessions I do. I used to be quite serious, like, welcome, this thing, but I'm an actually playful, like funny person. And there's a balance for sure, because I have also made inappropriate jokes. But it's a balance for sure.
For sure. And actually, a lot of women that come to my workshops, or people that attend any workshops or anything I do, they always end up saying, you're so funny, because I can't help. I don't know why. I just, I I was speaking to one of my mentors and they did a comedy. I think Ryan did a comedy. Was it Ryan that did the comedy? Trained in comedy?
Improv. Yeah,
Yeah,
improv,
he
right?
did. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, and someone else as well, another person I know. And actually, so many people have said to me, "You really need to do some comedy. You should get into comedy." So I'm thinking about doing something around comedy
Yeah,
because I
do
just
that.
find I could sit and laugh all day. I make it a rule to laugh every day.
Oh.
Like I actually have a rule to find something that literally makes me laugh, and I'm constantly sending my
Mm.
children things I think are really funny, and they just don't find them funny at all.
You that mum.
I'm that mum. I've turned into that mum.
Oh no. That's
So,
okay.
like
You're
I
having
said,
fun.
hey ho, every now and then I get a smirk, like, okay, that was all right. But yeah, but before we run out of time, I do want you to talk about your book, please. I really
Yes.
want to hear about your book.
Okay.
Tell everybody about your book, your fantastic book. Show us.
Yeah. So I've written a book. I published it. This is the book. It's called 140 Things I Wish I Knew When I Was 14. It was 3 years in the making. It started off as TikTok series around 2020. And it purely came from, I just want to create something for the sake of creating. And I got this. TikTok just came out and I thought, I don't want to do those dance videos, but I do want to just like get on camera and like talk and share things. So it just came to me, the idea. So things I wish I knew when I was 14, part one, part two, part three, and I started making these little videos. And the more I made them, the teams on there, they were so responsive. They were so engaged as well. They would comment, they would ask questions. Can you make a video about math test anxiety? Can you make a video about parents doing this and then that and that? So it came as a collaboration between me and them. They were so open, so vulnerable, and just very expressive. And I came up until 111 videos. And then one of my friends said, like this is a book. You can actually turn this into a book and it's a book. You can transcribe it. So I said, yeah, okay, that's true. So I started writing it and started editing it a bit more and added more things into it. And it became 140 from 111. And last year, so I lived in UK for 12 years, then I moved to Turkey, where I'm based in Istanbul now, last year. And for the last year, I've been have a friend, she did the illustrations. It was her first time illustrating as well, my first time writing a book. So it has this innocence to it. Like we both don't know what we're doing. We're like, is this how you write a book? Is this how you illustrate? I guess, it works for us. So we met up every Friday, full day, and we would revise the illustrations she did. There's one illustration for each chapter, so 140 illustrations in there, which captures the energy, the lesson, the essence of each chapter. Um, and she did 4 revisions, so that's like 560 illustrations in like 1 year. By the end, we were both like, well, if we spend a lot of energy in this book. It's kind of like our baby, like we poured so much love, so labor of love really into it. Then it was me, her, and Aaron, again, my friend. We were all editing the book, so we all edited it. We all did the cover design. So the ending and the birthing of it was like this collective effort of three of us. Um, and I published on Amazon. It's self-published because I didn't want to change anything um, that someone else, asked me to change. At least for my first book. We tuned in a lot about everything. We used that work we used on intuition. Everything is like tuned in that multiple times by me and Aaron for sure. And Iram also, she knows how to tune in too, the illustrator. So yeah, and it came out beginning of January, like a month ago, and the response has been amazing. 105 copies are sold now, all organically, all naturally. And they're gifting the book to people, which is so nice because I always gift things to my friends. So it's so nice, like the book that came out, people have been, gifting it. And I've been signing it and giving it to people. I'd love to give you one as well. Um, yeah, it's just been amazing. Like such a cool thing. Like it's physically there because most things I've created, they're kind of intangible, Naked Breathwork sessions, but this is like tangible thing out in the world. It's pretty epic. Um, yeah, and then I'm gonna do a book launch dance party with Cacao in London on the 8th of March. And it's open invitation. Everyone's welcome. So come, if you're listening to this, come join. I'll do some book signing there as well, and we'll have some cacao. It's kind of like when I celebrate my birthday, every time I did it in UK, I always did it this way. Everyone's welcome, just come. It's kind of like that, but with the book.
Yeah,
So yeah, very grateful. It's been just amazing.
I'm just putting that in my diary right now.
Great. Thanks.
Because I will be there and I'm going to purchase a book
Yeah.
and then I'm going to bring it and then
Oh,
you can sign it.
no,
I'm so
fantastic.
happy. I'm so happy. I'm
Thank you for your
overjoyed that
support.
your success with this. Fantastic. Really beautiful.
Thank you.
Um, I just feel so warm about that. And I just want to take a moment to say, just well done. Really,
Mm,
really well done. Love you so much. Um,
thank you.
oh, and now towards the end, I just need your
Mm,
quote. What is your
go ahead.
inspirational quote?
So I love quotes. There was many, but the one I want to share is by Anais Nin. And she goes, and the day came when the risk to remain tied in the bud was more painful than the risk it took to blossom. And I love this quote because it kind of touches what we talked about opening the heart and keeping it open. We're always changing, I feel. We're nature, we come from nature, and we'll go back to nature. So nature always evolves. There's always in movement, there's all the seasons. And if you look at nature, um, I nearly said it in Turkish. After summer, fall comes. So the flowers, they don't hold on going, oh, I don't know, next time I'm gonna blossom. I need to hold on. They just let go, trusting that spring's gonna come in again, and it comes. And I think we're like that. We're cyclical beings, all humans, but women like more so because we have a cycle as well. So yeah, I love that this quote kind of reminds that when life is not pushing you, but it's moving you towards an expansion and towards a new space or a new thing, and you're scared of getting outside your comfort, go for it. Because you're going to be a different person. And this is kind of like a death rebirth. Part of you dies, new part of you is born. And that new part that is born, they'll know how to deal with that. But because you haven't become that, you don't know. And you're thinking from your old self, feeling, oh, I can't do that. Yeah, you can't. Your old self can't, but your new self or the next phase, whatever you want to call it, they can. So, and I've gone through this so many times in my life, like more than 10 probably. No, I just know it. Like this is true. So when there's this expansion, it's scary. It's kind of like the big between like fear and excitement mixture, but you feel it's true in your heart, go for it.
I love that. I love that quote so much. That is
Mm.
such a beautiful quote, and you're so spot on. The times that when I look back on my life and the things that I thought were devastating and I would never recover from,
Mm.
and I remember my very first heartbreak, I was bawling, and I said to my friend, "I'm never going to get over this. This is just." It was just. It felt like death, like
Yeah.
awful. And my friend, being older and wiser, was like, you will. Don't worry. One day you're going to look back on this. And I was like, no, I won't. Oh, I won't. This is it. I'm never seeing anyone ever again. Whatever.
And it happened like 10 times again.
Now it's like,
Oh,
oh, okay, yeah. So,
oh, okay,
okay, so
another one.
done. Okay.
Here we go. I
All
got
right then.
this.
Peace be with you.
Yeah.
And then you go into your thing. And then even when you go into your darkness, you're like, it's okay. I know that I'm just going through something. It's going to be fine.
Yeah,
Something,
100%.
something better will come. And that is so beautiful. I love that quote. Thank you so much. Can you
Oh.
let people know where they can find you?
Yes, so I'm on Instagram. It's my
Mm-hmm.
name and surname, Iktlabar. Yeah, feel free to message me. Like maybe message like what you're taking away from this podcast. I'd love to hear. I
Yeah.
do intuition coaching, which is all about connecting with your intuition and following your dreams, following your heart, and creating that in the world in an intuitive, effortless, playful, fun way. I do one-to-one breathwork sessions online. I'm not gonna do naked breathwork for a while, actually. I've done two this month. I'm gonna take a bit of a break to focus on the book, sharing the book, and building my business in Turkey, actually, in Istanbul. So I'm gonna give more energy to that. But it will be back at some point. So yeah, you can reach out to me there. You can buy the book as well. If you write my name on Amazon, it just comes out. You can gift it to a friend if you want. Even though I've written it for teen girls, adults have been reaching out to me and saying, I finished in one go. It's actually for adults as well, men and women. Like I've been hearing from everyone. So yeah, you can buy a copy as well.
Cool. And I'm going to put all your contact information in the comments below, so people can follow Isik on Instagram, Facebook. You're on YouTube as well?
I'm actually going to start being on YouTube starting this week. So yeah, I will be soon.
Okay. So, but all of Isik's contact information will be in the comments. And also, if you have enjoyed this podcast, please don't forget to subscribe and like and share. Thank you so much, Isik. I have absolutely loved having you on. It has been effortless and just beautiful.
Yeah.
I appreciate you so much. Love you so much. And I will be at the book launch on March the 8th.
Yay. Yes. Love you too. And thank you for having me.
Love you too.
So lovely.
Okay, take care. Bye.
Yeah.